The next application we're going to look at will be Mobicip or Mobicip.com. We touched on it in a previous video that it is a useful parental control filtering service for the Chromebook. It is going to be one of the better ones to be able to use with the Chromebook simply because you can lock that it cannot be disabled, or you can set so that it has to be installed on the device. If it is disabled or removed from the device, then the owner or the admin of that software set will get an email that the device or that account has been disabled or deleted. And that's the point when you can have that conversation with your child, rather than trying to force things on. You want to have that conversation so they understand why you're using the filtering service and why it's important that they leave it where it is. They can go through if they knock up against something that is blocked and it's not allowing them through. There is a way that they can request that site to be allowed. The owner of that account, the admin of that account, will get that request, and they can make a choice as to whether to allow that request or deny that request. So if it's something that's blocked by the filtering, they can click on the allow if they've made the request, and then the next time when they navigate to that, it will allow it through, or allow the system to get through. Um, as you can see here, we've gone ahead and logged in to the dashboard of the account. You'll notice that there's one account set in, one person who has the Chromebook that's being monitored right now. And you're going to notice that it says there are 0 blocked websites and 0 allowed websites. And that last activity was 18 hours ago. And the reason why there's 0 is not because they haven't been using the device, but I did log in for privacy and security sake. I did log in, made sure I checked this activity so that it would show up here. But you can continue to go back and view previous activity. You can go here and view previous activity if you need to go back. But since I've already checked it before making the video, right before making the video, and the device hasn't been used since, then you're going to see here where there's no activity since my last visit, not since the person's last visit, but since my last visit to this dashboard. So if they make any requests, then the access request would show up down here. And then you would be able to allow or deny. And you can either allow or deny that specific web page, or you can allow or deny that entire domain. So if they're on a specific web page that's being blocked, but the rest of the domain is fine, you can unlock that entire domain and say, hey, this entire domain is fine no matter what comes up. So you can go into the filtering profiles. Remember that this is based on the number of devices, not the number of users. I've got one here that's set up. We're going to walk you through on how to set that up. So you would set up, you would add a profile here on the top right-hand corner. So you would add the profile, you put in the child, the filtering level, mature, moderate, strict, or just to monitor, and then to save it. It says monitor. Let's go back here. Monitor mode will override all other filter settings done in the categories, websites, limits, phrases. Mobicip filter will not restrict any internet content made, but reports will be generated for the activities done through the Mobicip app. So that's in the monitor. So it won't actually filter anything. It's just going to record everything that's going on. Now I've set up a child here. It's called child 1. We're going to look at the filtering level is set to mature. We're going to go in and edit the filtering settings. And inside the category here, so we can look, and so that the filtering level is set to mature. That's really what it's going to block out on. Mature is mature in adult sites, proxy sites. That's it. So if you want to change that, you can. You don't necessarily have to go and change the word filtering, but you would be able to just go through and start checking off the things that you don't want that person to be able to get a hold of. So if this is a student, maybe we're going to disable the gambling and health, and you're like, well, why disable health? There are certain aspects to the health world that you want to make sure that you're the lead communicator with your child on, rather than letting some website be the lead communicator with your child on. So you can block out all health sites, but if they have a specific thing that they're needing to research and they're asking for requests, then you can monitor and allow those requests as they come through. You can leave it open if you want to, but again, there are certain aspects to the health environment or health world that you may want to leave more to your ability to be the lead communicator on that with your child. Let's say you want to block out all YouTube. Well, what if they need YouTube for school? Then they can make a request for that specific YouTube video if you would like them to be able to, if you want to block out all of YouTube. Um, there are other settings, and we'll get to those in just a minute, phrases and different things. Let's say you want to block out all weapons and violence, but your family uses a lot of guns, or you're a knife collector, then you can start unlocking those individual sites. Remember, this is just a broad spectrum of what I want to block out, and then I can go and get a little more granular in just a minute. So let's say that I don't want to deal with any alcohol and addiction. I've already got pornography locked out. Need to leave them out of all chats and forums. They're, some of them are too young for that. I don't want to do any social networking on their device. This is a device that, they can have it on something else, but not on this device. If you want to block out anything that's uncategorized, meaning that, hey, it might fall into the food category, but the specific site is uncategorized by Google's algorithm or by a different algorithm. It's uncategorized, so it'll block it, and then they can make a request saying, hey, I would like access, and then you get to make that choice whether you allow access or not. So you go through each one of these in a broad spectrum, and decide what you're going to leave available and what you're going to block out. So moving on from there, you would look at the websites, and you could block or whitelist individual websites. So if you want to go to a whitelist your websites, then you go through and whitelist all the websites. Now, why this would work? It says whitelist only, allow only the websites on this list. If you select this, any website other than the listed ones below will be blocked. So this is really a I'm blocking everything that's on the internet button, except for specific websites that I'm going to allow, and I'm going to name those specific websites. And if it's not part of those specific websites, those domains, done, you can't get to it. That's a pretty far-reaching, restricting everything that's available. This can become tiresome and cumbersome in the long run. I understand why you may want to do this, but it could become tiresome and cumbersome just trying to unlock everything that is allowed. The block list or the blacklist. This is where, hey, this is getting through the filters, but I don't want you to be able to get access to it. So therefore, I'm going to add specific web pages to the blocked list. Time limits. Time limits is a different area. Another one says, hey, what's your time zone? The time zone that you are currently in will be America, Chicago. That's going to be the go-to one if you're not sure. So you'd just scroll up. You'd find the one for Chicago. They're still within the central time zone following daylight savings. And so daylight saving time. So then you'd be able to lock it in. So then at that point you would tell it that, hey, at what time am I allowed? Well, I'm not going to allow. There doesn't need to be any activity between midnight and 7 a.m. They don't need anything. So you'd go through and you'd click through each one of them. Say, I'm not going to allow this device to have access to the internet during this time. And notice that it starts at 12 a.m. So then you would go through, click all the way through, and then down here at the bottom it says they don't need to use it after 11 p.m. Or if you say after 10 p.m., that's going to be you as a parent making that decision, having that discussion with your child, saying this is what we're going to block out. Under phrases, You can get some keyword searches. So if there are specific things that you want to make sure never show up, or you have a really good chance of not showing up, then you would put in those specific phrases or words there. And then you can also go down into networks, and you could force specific IP addresses, whitelist different networks. This is something whitelist networks should be exempted. Mobicip filtering and reporting will be disabled on those networks. So if you have a specific network you don't want the Mobicip to be working on, then you put it in here.